You know, we're always told that to make it in this world, you have to be totally self-reliant. But today, we're going to look at a different idea, a much more hopeful one, I think. It's this idea that we're all part of this invisible web of support, and we're constantly saving each other in these small ways we barely even notice.
All right, so to get into this, let's start with a piece of wisdom that I'm sure most of us have heard. Maybe you even live by it. It's this whole philosophy built around rugged individualism.
Yeah, that one. We've all heard some version of this, right? It's usually framed as this tough love lesson you have to learn to grow up. The bottom line is, when it all comes down to it, you're on your own.
And look, you can see why. It makes a certain kind of sense. It's all about being strong, being resilient, taking responsibility for yourself. It feels like a survival guide for a pretty tough world.
But what if that idea, as useful as it might seem sometimes, is just incomplete? What if we've been so focused on that we're missing this whole other, more connected reality that's happening around us all the time? And this is where the piece of writing that inspired this whole thing comes in. It offers this really direct, really personal argument against that whole isolating, you're on your own idea.
This whole different perspective comes from a short, really thoughtful piece by an author who goes by Iris Rose Poetry. And their argument against no one is coming to save you is just so simple and so powerful. But for me, that's not true.
The author is very clear about it. They have been rescued. But we're not talking about a knight in shining armor or some dramatic movie scene intervention. No, these rescues are much quieter, much more subtle.
So what do these little rescues actually look like? Well, they're not these grand gestures. They're the simple, everyday human moments that, if they happen at just the right time, can change absolutely everything.
For example, the author talks about being saved by a knowing smile from a total stranger. Just think about that for a second. That tiny moment of silent connection from someone you'll probably never see again, but they just got it.
Or, how about this one? Being rescued by a single line in a letter. Just a few words, perfectly chosen, that showed up right when you needed to hear them most, offering that little bit of comfort or clarity.
And this one is so important. Being rescued by a friend who was just paying attention. They didn't try to fix anything, they just listened. The simple act of being truly present for someone. How powerful is that?
And sometimes the rescue doesn't even come from another person. The author even mentions being saved by the stillness that just came from focusing on something else. You know, a simple distraction that gave their mind a break, a little moment of peace.
And here it is. This is where this whole idea comes from. This is the source text itself. It's just a small piece, but it has such a huge heart, and it's where all these incredible observations are shared.
So all these little personal moments, they start to build into something much bigger. A kind of universal principle that I think we can all see in our own lives. You could almost call them our daily miracles.
So let's give this idea a name. Let's call it an everyday rescue. It is exactly what it sounds like, a small, often totally unnoticed act of kindness or connection that saves someone in a really quiet, non-dramatic way.
And here is the most amazing part of all of this. This isn't just a nice thought. It's something that's happening constantly. We are all part of this, giving and receiving these everyday rescues all the time.
When you really think about it, the implications are just huge. It means that feeling of being completely alone is often just that, a feeling, not the actual reality. It means that your smallest actions, the ones you don't even think about, can have the biggest impact. And maybe most importantly, it means we're all part of this incredible, unspoken pact to save each other every single day without even realizing we're doing it.
So all of this brings us to one last big question. A thought to take with you that can kind of shift this from just being an interesting idea to a whole new way of looking at your day-to-day life.
Forget about the big, heroic, movie-style stuff for a minute. Just think about this. With a kind word you offered, a moment she took to really listen, or maybe even just a quick, knowing smile, who did you save today without even knowing it?